First of all, welcome. This is a very special program that the SCA has put together. They've done it in honor of the doctors and all the different first aid and Hatzalah and nurses and everyone that's really on the front lines of this unfortunate situation and really putting their lives in risk. And obviously, we want to wish a Refuah Shelemah to everyone who might be in a dangerous situation, and to anyone that has passed away as a result of this, may all these shurim be Lilui Nishmatam. Also, just as another word of caution, please follow the rules and regulations that the medical professionals are telling us. Stay home, stay away from people that have a compromised immune system or are very old. Hopefully, if everyone will adhere to the rules, we can get past this together as soon as possible. It's an unfortunate situation that we're in, but the quicker we can all join together and follow the rules together, hopefully we will be able to get out of this as soon as possible. Just the rule, I guess, to set the boundaries here, try and keep yourselves muted. If you have a question, hopefully we'll have time at the end for questions, but if it's really pressing, you can write it in the chat and then I'll see it and then I could unmute you or Michael can unmute you privately. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough situation to work with all these screens, but hopefully we'll make it work. Okay, so first of all, as a way of introduction, I'd just like to say that I'm not sure how many people in here have had the privilege to be in the Zoom shurim, the many Zoom shurim that are taking place over the community and throughout the Jewish world, really. And it's an amazing thing to see that in the toughest of times, people are turning to learning Torah as their source of inspiration and, really doing everything they can to add that into their schedule. And I think that on a much deeper level, it shows us a different level, or maybe hopefully instills within us a different level of appreciation for what the Torah can be for us. And basically at moments where there's nothing else, where sometimes the meaning of our lives we get from our social networks, or sometimes the meaning of our life we get from our work or from our, community work or things that are external to us. When all that is gone and we don't have the ability to do that, and we're basically forced to stay home and have no other choice, what is left for us to do? What do we have? And, it's amazing thing to see that everyone's turning back to Torah. And everyone's recognizing that no matter what else happens in the outside world, we'll always have that. There's nothing that can ever be done will take away our ability to study, and that'll be, people in the Holocaust have, not to compare, but people in the Holocaust were able to study Torah, and for many of them, that's what got them through. Okay, now getting to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about. We're going to be studying Mizmor Kuf Zayin, the Psalm 107. If you don't have a text in front of you, that's perfectly okay. I chose it because it's the Mizmor that we say for the holiday of Pesach. Our rabbis chose this Mizmor as the one to say during our tefillot on Pesach. And I basically want to explain why. What does this Mizmor have to do with Pesach? But as a way of introduction, we just to realize that when we have holidays in the Jewish calendar, we're not dealing with commemorations of events. It's not a historical thing. We're not just doing, let's say, Sukkot to remember what happened in the desert, or Shavuot to remember standing at Har Sinai, or Pesach to remember the Exodus of Egypt. That's part of it. But the real part of a holiday that we have in the Jewish calendar is to internalize the lessons and to experience what the holiday is meant to be for us. So when we have Rosh Hashanah, that's meant to be an exercise in the experience of judgment and choice making. And when we have Sukkot. It's an experience in trying to become happier people, to experience what true happiness is. And so for Pesach, it's not just a commemoration of the Exodus of Egypt. It's an exercise, and especially the Seder night is an exercise in achieving a higher level of freedom than we had when we started. And so the mitzvot and the things that we do during the holiday should ideally contribute to that. And we should see how they contribute to that. So with that, we're going to be studying Mizmor Kuf Zayin and trying to figure out how exactly that fits into the picture and how exactly it can allow us to achieve a higher level of freedom. So I'm not sure if any of you are on a phone. I hope I'm about to share my screen with you. So I hope that the text isn't too small, but hopefully you'll be able to see. Mizmor Kuf Zayin is broken down into 4 parts. And the second part is broken down into 4 parts. And within each of those 4 parts, there's 5 parts. Okay, so I know that was a lot to follow, but we'll have it in color coding and everything will be good. If anyone can't see the screen, unmute yourself and tell me that you can't see the screen. Good.
Edward, one question. Is this being recorded?
Yes, all the streams are being recorded.
Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes.
We'll be happy to have you in a few minutes. Okay, so as you see here, we have the intro. Okay, this is a very long Mizmor. I'm not going to read the English. I'm just going to read the Hebrew, and whoever feels more comfortable in the English can follow along in the English for the sake of time. So the intro goes like this. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. Yomeru ge'ule Adonai asher ge'alam miyad sar. Okay, so this is obviously a psalm of thanksgiving. Okay, giving thanks to God for the redemption. So obviously, right away you see, oh, I know why we say this on Pesach. It's clearly the first 2 lines reference the need to give thanks to God for having redeemed us from our oppressor. Right? He has gathered all the people together. Okay, that is the introduction. Now, who exactly are the people that need to be giving thanks? That's section 2. And section 2, which I told you is broken down into 4 different people. You have the traveler, the prisoner, the ill person, and the traveler of the sea. Each section, as you can see by the color coding, is broken down into 5 parallel sections. The first is the problem that each of these people were facing in their whatever situation. The next is we'll call it magenta or something. This is one of the refrains that will come back consistently in all 4 of the situations. Then you have God's salvation, which is in the green. And then you have the response of the people, which is, let us give thanks to God. And then in the last section in the orange is the reason why we have to give thanks. Now, if you notice, you will notice that the magenta and the red, they're the same, almost identical in all 4 situations. And some wanted to suggest that this was actually a psalm that was said with a little bit of a give and take, meaning this would be said by an individual, and then a crowd would say something like this. And then this would be responded by the individual, and then the crowd would say something like this. And it was more of a give and take, which would make sense. Okay, let's continue. So, Ta'u b'amidbar b'shimon darech, ir moshav lo matzav. Re'evim gam semeim, nafsham bahem tit'ataf. And then, as a result of this dire situation, vayitz'aku el Adonai basar lahem, min musokotehem yatzilem. Vayedirchem b'derech yeshara, lalechet ir moshav. Yodu l'Adonai chasto, v'nifleotav livnei adam, ki hisbiya nefesh shokeka, v'nefesh re'eva miletov. So you have the traveler in the desert who's wandering. He has nowhere to go. It's a situation where he has no, GPS, no compass, nothing. And God has helped him, has guided him on the proper way to a place of inhabitation. The next is the prisoner. Yosheveh choshech v'sal navet, asire oni ur barzel, ki himru imre el va'atzat elyon na'atzu, vayachna be'amal libam, kashelu ve'en ozer. Okay, this is a unique one. Well, not completely unique, but in the middle here, in Pasuk Yud Aleph, you have a reason given for why the person is in jail to begin with. That's not the case with all the other situations. Vayzaku. Now, if you notice above, it was Vayzaku with a sadi. Here it's with a zayin, and that's going to be the case for this one and the next one. Whereas the first two have it with a sadi. We can explain why that is in just a second. Another thing that the second and the third have in common, again, the prisoner and the person that's ill, is that they have Yoshiem as opposed to Yatzilem or Yotziem, which is the first and the fourth. Yotziem michoshech v'sel mavet. So again, this is the reason why this is what God has done for them. Yotziem michoshech v'sel mavet motzrotehem yinatek. He has removed their chains, basically. Yodul Adonai chastov v'nifleotav levnei adam. Again, that was consistent. Kishibar daltot nechoshet uvriche barzel gidea. This is what he has done for them. He has broke them out of their imprisonment. Evilim miderech pisham. Now we're on to the next, the ill person. Miderech pisham ume'avonotehem yit'anu. Kol ochel tita'ev nasham vayagiu ad sha'are mavet. Right? Some people, interestingly, some people's symptoms of the coronavirus is that they can't taste food, so they will very much identify with this part of being sick, is that you don't enjoy the taste of food. Vayiz'aku el Adonai basar lahem mimusukotehem yoshiem yishlach tivaro v'yirpaem v'malet meshechitotam yodul Adonai chasto v'nifleotav levnei adam v'yizbechu zivchei toda v'yisaperu ma'asav berina. Now, if you notice with the case of the ill person and the case of the prisoner, we said that they have Vayiz'aku and they have Yoshiem, which is consistent and the same between the two of them. The traveler of the sea and the traveler of the desert are much more parallel to each other. And there are several reasons given for why that's the case. One of them is because the ill person and the prisoner, part of his faith is, we'll say, dependent on another person. Why? The ill person is dependent also on the doctor. The prisoner is dependent also on the guard. So when he cries out, Vayiz'aku, it's not as genuine as the crying out of the traveler of the sea and the person traveling in the desert, because they cry out Vayiz'aku, which is, as the Malbim points, a higher level of prayer, because their crying out is only to God. Whereas these levels, Vayiz'aku, is lacking because part of their hope is coming from a doctor or from the guard of the prison. But either way, let's continue. Yordei hayam ba'oniyot ose melacha b'mayim rabim hema ra'u ma'aseh Adonai v'nifleotav b'msula v'yomer v'ya'amed ruach se'ara. This is talking about God. V'tiromem galav ya'alu shamayim yeredu tehomot nafsham bera'a titmogag. Anyone who's ever been at sea and it's been a little bit rough, you could identify with some of the ideas being expressed here. But imagine if it was, really, really tough out there, right? Aku el Adonai batzar lahem u'memusukotehem yotziem yakem se'ara l'tmama ve'yecheshu galehem v'yismechu ki yishtoku v'yanhem el mechoz chefsam. Yodul Adonai chasto v'nifleotav levnei adam v'iromemuhu b'kal'am u'bonshav zekenim yehaleluhu. That is the end of section 2 of the Mizmor, and for our purposes, we're going to be focusing mostly on that section. The next part talks about as you see in the title here, and we'll just read through it. I don't want to spend too much time on it. If we have time, we could show how the intro, connects to the third and fourth sections. Yasem neharot lemidbar u'motza'e mayim l'tzimaon eretz peri lemelecha mirat yoshveba yasem midbar l'agam mayim ve'eretz siya l'motza'e mayim v'yoshev sham re'evim v'yechonunu ir moshav v'yizre'u sadot v'yiteu keramim v'ya'asu peri tivua v'yivarechem v'yirbu me'od uv'hemtam lo yam'it v'yim'atu v'yashohu me'otzer ra'a v'yagon Shofech buz al nedivim vayat'em b'tohu lo darech vayisagev evyon me'oni vayasem kason mishpachot. And as a response to all this, the righteous say, Yir'u yisharim v'yismachu v'chol avla kaf sapiha mi chacham v'yishmor ele v'yitbonenu chasdei Adonai. I would love to talk about section 3 and 4 more, but we just simply don't have the time. So like I said from the outset, it's pretty clear if you read this on a straightforward level why the rabbis would choose this Mizmor, because it's about being saved from an oppression, calling out to God, and having God respond. But I think there's something a lot deeper here. And the reason why I think that is because of a Gemara on Masechet Brachot that I have on the bottom of the page here. It says like this, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Arba'a sirichim lehodot. There are 4 people, says Rav, that need to give thanks. Now, when we say need to give thanks, we mean need to give thanks. In the times of the Bet HaMikdash, it manifested in the form of a korban todah. Nowadays, it manifests in a birkat hagomel, right? When a person travels, or if a person is ill, or if a person was in jail and they get out, they have to say birkat hagomel, and this is the source. And if you notice the 4 people, they are the 4 people listed in our psalm. Yordeh hayam, holchem idbarot, mi shayach chole v'nitrapeh, u'mi shayach chabush bebet hasurim. And then the Gemara continues and proves that all of this from the words of our Mizmor, of our psalm here. And you could just see, we're not going to read inside, but it's basically quoting all the Pesukim. My mevarech, what does a person bless? Amar Rav Yehuda, Baruch gomel chasadim tovim, right? He says, Baruch Hata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, gomel chasadim tovim, sorry, shekemelani kol tuv, right? The bracha of Birkat HaGomel. So what this Gemara tells me is that this psalm is not just a psalm of thanks, but it's telling me what thanks means, or who is required to give thanks. And so when we are saying this Mizmor on Pesach, every day of Pesach, what we're essentially saying is that somehow saying this Mizmor and understanding the thanks that is given by these 4 people in the Mizmor, we can come to a greater appreciation, or better yet, understanding and experience of the freedom. So that's what I'd like to spend the rest of the time with, trying to understand why. So, well, I guess maybe we could do like does anyone have any questions? I can't really see the thing. Michael, you want to tell me if anyone wrote any questions there? We're good? Okay. So continuing. If we look at all these 4 guys, the traveler in the desert, the prisoner, the ill person, and the traveler of the sea, what they all have in common, obviously, is that they're in a dangerous situation. But I think it's more than that. I think what these people realize in their moments of danger, right? Re'evim gam semeim, they're hungry and thirsty, their soul is faint. Or they're sitting in the dark, all chained up. Or, right, etc., etc. Vayagiu ad sharei, they've reached the gates of death. What they realize in their time when they call out is that their fate at this moment in time is completely dependent on someone or something outside of them. They have no control over their future. Everything that they have is dependent on something else. They have no freedom, because freedom is the ability to direct your life in the way you want to go. You're in charge. You're in control. I have a goal for myself. I have an identity that I want to achieve, and I have the means to achieve it, and I can go and do that. These 4 people come to realize in a very dramatic and unfortunate situation, that they're in a situation where they are not in control of anything. Their entire situation, their entire future, their entire life is completely dependent on, in this case, right, in these cases, God. But for them, before they call out to God, it's the desert, right, the conditions of the desert, the guards in the jail, the sickness that they have, and the traveler, and the conditions at the sea. To these people, when they call out to God and then receive the response of salvation, and then they say, Yodu l'Adonai chasdov v'nifleotav l'bnei adam, when they respond in thanks to God. By the way, just as an important parenthesis, the word in Hebrew for thanks, right, if you see your thanks, Yodu, more accurately is probably translated as acknowledgement or something of that sort. that it's not just a casual appreciation of what is done. It's a deep awareness and acknowledgement of the goodness that was provided. And so these people, their acknowledgement is not just, that was really nice of you to do that for me, but it's basically, you gave me back my entire freedom, my entire life, my entire ability to live in this world meaningfully. Without you having saved me, my fate was thrown up to the illness that I had, or the sea, or the desert. And the response is, thank you so much, because without your salvation, I would be nothing. And if we take that to Pesach, there's something that I think never gets stressed during Pesach, and that is that, well, most people think, not incorrectly, but most people identify, trying to compare cultures, they identify Sukkot as the Jewish Thanksgiving. And part of that is correct, because we gather in all our produce and we say Hallel and we thank God for everything that we have. But to be honest, it's more accurate to actually think of Pesach as the Jewish Thanksgiving, because Pesach is the only holiday where we say Hallel at night. We say it in shul with a bracha on Friday, on the holiday night, which is, no other holiday has that. And then we also say Hallel during the Seder. Hallel is broken up throughout the Seder with the cups of wine. And so and Hallel is obviously the prayer of praising God and thanking God. We say multiple times in the Hallel, Hodul Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto, which is the first pasuk of our Mizmor. So if the night of Pesach is the time of thanks, then how is it that the thanks that we give allows us to achieve a greater level of freedom? And we'll use that to answer a very confusing set of Pesukim in Sefer Vayikra. I can't see it because it's blocked. Okay. There we go. In Sefer Vayikra, at the end, there's a couple Pesukim that are pretty close to each other, and they say like this. This is God speaking through Moshe. Ki li b'nei Israel avadim, avadaihem. To me, the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants. Asher hoseti otam eretz Mitzrayim. I removed them from the land of Egypt. Ani Hashem Elokechem. I am the Lord, their God. Several Pesukim later, it says, Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hoseti etchem eretz Mitzrayim, nihiyot lahem avadim. I am the Lord, your God, who took you out of Egypt from being slaves. Va'eshbor motot ulechem, and I destroyed the yokes or the chains that you were on your neck. And I walked you, or I made you straighten yourself out, meaning instead of walking like this because you had the burden of slavery on your neck, I straightened you out. Now, the obvious question is, you say in the first pasuk, Bnei Israel are my slaves. I took them out of Egypt. And then the next one you say, I took you out from being slaves. Azaku Baruch, you took us out from being slaves, and then you made us your own slaves. So what's the advantage here? Instead of being slaves to Paro, now we're slaves to God, right? We have to listen to his rules instead of listening to Paro's rules. So what do we gain from this? So the obvious answer is, and based on everything that we just said, is that when we receive something, or when we are in a situation where we're in slavery from a human, he wants to use us for their own benefit. He doesn't care about our uniqueness, about our aspirations, our personal goals, or our talents, or anything like that. He wants to use us in the way that best suits him, not in the way that best suits us, not in the way that best takes advantage of our abilities, but in the way that best, monetizes whatever he wants to monetize. However, when it comes to God, right, and the fact that every single human being is created unique and has a unique set to offer to the table, when God gives us, or we'll say like this, when God enslaves us, quote unquote, it's with the recognition that use everything I've given you, all your talents, all your abilities, to try and meet the goals that I have for you as a specific person. Try and reach your potential. Try and, use whatever God-given talents that you have to make the world a better place, to help those around you, to serve God honestly and truthfully. So the awareness that God has given us something is, we'll say, different than the awareness that we have when maybe someone else has given us something. A lot of times when people give us things, it has the opposite effect of making us more free. In fact, it makes us more dependent on them. It makes us less free because now we think that we owe this person something, or we have to take what they give us with a certain, maybe I want to do with this what they want to do with it for me. Or we might just become dependent on their gifts of their goodwill. That's the opposite here. When God saves us, when God gives us goodness, like these 4 people that are recognized in the Mizmor, they come to a recognition that God has saved us, but not in vain. He gave me back my freedom. He gave me back my ability to be self-determinate. And now I have to use that. It's not just a gift and, okay, thank you very much, and you walk away. But it's a gift that comes with it an understanding of, okay, wow, I just got my life back. Now, where else in my life, when I go to thank God for things, where in my life am I thanking God for things, but I'm not realizing, okay, but what am I doing with this? How am I using this thing, this God-given gift, whether it's an ability, whether it's a financial gift, whether it's health, whether it's time, whatever it is, but how am I using it in the service of God? How am I using it to enhance my freedom? How am I using it to channel everything that I have in his service? And we'll just end with this because I think it's impossible not to, I think a lot of people, for the sake of not trying to give reasons for why situations and bad things happen, or the situation that we're in now with this coronavirus, I think a lot of people don't want to say this is why God is doing this, or this is why this is happening, and that's fine. That's none of us are prophets. We have no idea. We have no way of knowing exactly why God is doing what he's doing. But I think a common side effect of that is that we become indifferent to it, and we say, you know what, I don't even need to think about what I can gain from this situation. But in this situation, it seems very odd not to think about the fact that we're approaching the holiday of freedom, and most of us feel as if our freedoms have been severely limited, as if we are now in a sort of minor prison, like the person in our psalm, and that we're, locked inside. Many of us haven't seen family members or friends or been a part of any, social gatherings in several weeks. And so perhaps we can take this Mizmor and say, there are 2 types of freedom. And the Haggadah stresses this in multiple places. You'll have to take my word for it now. There's physical freedom, which is the physical ability to do what I want to do and to bring about the goals that I have for myself. And then there's the mental or emotional freedom, the psychological freedom, to have the ability to see the true identity that I want to have for myself. And perhaps being locked away and being not able to have our physical freedom, perhaps that is a way for us to be put in a situation where we have to focus more on our internal freedom. Perhaps we've been enslaved to our freedoms. Perhaps we've been too focused and too dedicated to our work, to our social networks, to our friends, to our leisure activities, that we've become enslaved to them, and we've become removed from our own selves, from our own psychological freedom. And now that we have those things taken away, the question really is, okay, so now who are you? Where are you? What are you going to do with it? And I think a lot of us, I could speak for myself, are coming to, appreciate not only the things that we lost, right? A lot of people are saying now a lot of people will appreciate going to shul more. It's not only that. I think a lot of people now are appreciating the internal things that have been dormant for so long because we distract ourselves with the outside freedoms that we have. And so a lot of people are now enjoying the quiet couple of minutes that they could have while sipping their coffee on their balcony or something, which they never would have been able to do if they had to catch the 8 a.m. train. And so hopefully we can use the experience and the lessons that we're getting from this self-isolation, this quarantine, this miniature imprisonment, to try and, as this Mizmor is telling us, when we thank God, we're not just saying thank you and then we walk away. It's a thank you, and how can I use that in the proper service of God? As the Mizmor opens up, and if we go back to the beginning, right? Yomeru ge'ule Adonai asher ge'alam mi'atzar. Only those who were redeemed from God, only people who are truly free can give thanks in this way. Only people who are really free. And this is why we say the Hallel during the Seder. In the middle of the Seder, we have I got you, Mike. In the middle of the Seder, we say this Hallel, because it's an act in our freedom. Part of the experience of the freedom is to give this kind of thanks. So thank you all for joining. I hope this was helpful. Mike, you could take it away.